So today we're going to be learning how to forge a leaf. I've got it in the forge right now, the piece of steel I want. You can hear my blower going. This is the hammer we'll be using for the most part. This is a 3-pound diagonal peat hammer made by Brent Bailey. It is an awesome hammer. I love it. I use it all the time. We'll also be using needle nose pliers, and I have mostly filed the teeth out of those. Chisel, and to bang on the chisel, you got a beater hammer here. Of course, we will be using some tongs. So let's see if our material's hot. Ready to go. So, tilt your material, the edge of the anvil, half on, half off with the hammer face. 90 degrees. Give it nice solid blows. Now if you wanted to keep this material with a very even point, like center, then you would want to turn it 90, and then 90, and then keep going until you've rotated a full 360. I'm not doing that, because it's not important what I'm doing here. This material wasn't very hot when I started, so we're already back in the forge with it. So here we are. Find where I'm at. You want to try and keep your material at an angle so that your hammer blows will move it, get your maximum movement. Straighten that stuff out. I had a hook in it, kind of a bend, and that is not helpful. I'm trying to draw out these little papers. Okay, so there we go. I wonder if the camera can focus on that. Okay, now that we've got our point, we're going to isolate the head. Solid smacks. 90 degrees, 90 degrees. We're just going with 2 angles there. And then when we get about a quarter of the material that we had, we'll do nice light blows and kind of round it off. Then we take it to the horn, use our peat end. Use that horn like a fuller. You see how we drew that out? Maybe you can't see. I don't know if that can focus, but see how we drew that out. That's much faster than just using the face of the hammer on the face of the anvil. Much faster. There we go. While it's real hot like this, you really want to make use of that heat. Don't stand around looking at it. Hit it. Things about working on the horn with a little piece like this, so if I get too close to that leaf head, I'm not actually smacking it. It's real nice. So now that we've got that mostly drawn out by fullering, just bring it to the base of the anvil. And you can see how quickly we've drawn that out. And I'm starting to square it off now too, and we're going to pound out all those fuller marks, and it's just going to be square. Okay, we got a nice glow in there. So I'm just going to keep on squaring this out. Now keep in mind as we're squaring it out, we're still drawing it out. This material is getting thinner. We did most of that thinning work on the horn, but it's still getting thinner now, so you don't want to use the horn to take it too far. And you'll notice I'm going to cut it off over here, so I'm actually angling my hammer to bring that down. And so that what I'm going to do is I'll leave as much of this round stock the same size as possible while pinching this off really close to the end so that we don't dig into our round stock and waste more material. Okay, so right now it's square, so I'm setting it up so I can hit on the apex of that square. Right where it comes together, I'm turning 90 and I'm pounding down the length of each angle. Even though some of them have already been flattened by the bottom of, or by the top of the anvil. Because I'm pinching it between the hammer face and the anvil. And I went around to all four sides and I pounded on each one of them. And then, after you've done that, then you can, hang on, you gotta straighten it out a little bit. Solid taps. What I mean by solid taps is you're still hitting it hard. You're not just gently, you're still hitting it hard, but you're only coming from an inch or an inch and a half above the anvil. That way you can just bounce it. Solid taps. And as you see, I'm working it, it's a little colder. When the steel gets a little thinner like this, you can do some cold work on it. Not too cold, and not for too long. And especially not where you're going to have a spot that might bend. I'm just going along that flat area there and not working on near the head where the leaf is going to be. So, because if it bends while it's cold, you're probably going to break it. Okay. So now I'm going to work a little closer to the head of the leaf. And if you see, I'm actually angling my hammer just slightly so I can get right in there, trying to keep the head of the leaf off of the anvil face. And when you're this close to the edge there, smacking it off the side can begin to cut that thing apart. You don't want to do that yet. Well, not in that spot at all. But we will cut the other end pretty soon. I'll show you that. I'll just do it right against the edge of the anvil. You don't need a hot cut. Okay, now part of the reason why when it's square, here, let me show you the different piece of metal. When you got a square piece like this, part of the reason that you angle it down and you hammer across that apex of that square, and then you turn it and then you do the same thing there all the way around, because while you're hammering on the top, this bottom piece is getting hit against the anvil face. You're still going to go all the way around and you're going to hammer each one. Part of the reason you do that before, remember my quick solid taps? Part of the reason you hammer each face first before you just start hammering it all the way around is because if you just hammer it around, then you can actually take the tip of that square and just bend it over, and you'll have a flap. And unless you're going to get it hot enough to forge weld it or something, that's not going away. Or you can file it off or something. It creates a problem, and your work looks second rate. So you don't want to do that. The other thing I've noticed is that when you take your time to make a nice round, like really round, well, you know, just round it really well, the finished product, the metal almost looks soft. And so you finish it up, and you show somebody this piece, and it almost looks like it's made out of clay. It's so soft and smooth, and that is very, very impressive for a piece of metal. People love that. So if you spend some time on the rounding, you won't regret that. Okay. So for this leaf, you set it up on the bias, so on the bulky part, Beat it like it stalls something. You're going to try and stay off the stem. I hit the stem just a little bit, but then you get that shape. Yeah, but I can come back in here and kind of tap that out. Okay, so our next step is actually going to be to etch that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of grab this in a different pair of tongs, and I'm going to quench this piece right here. I just wanted that cold enough to handle. And grab my, there we go, little hold down tool. Pinch that, you just kind of tap that in there. Now, this is the spot where we're going to use the chisel, the beater hammer. Flatten that down. Now, with the leaf, you start at the tip, the far end. You start making your marks from there. If you start at the base of the leaf, it can be really difficult to get it to line up and go right to the end of the tip. And your chisel, if you notice, I hit it and I roll it. That's because generally speaking, you're going to want your chisel, this has just got just a slight bow to it. And that's good. And the reason is, if it's just flat, then the edges of your chisel are going to dip in a little more and make some marks in there that you don't want in there. Okay, so I've done the center line. So now you start at the center line. And you just start making your marks. And I'm making the veins of the leaf right now. So I've got it all up on one side. Actually, I don't know if you saw that. I had the chisel like this. I turned it around. Because on my chisel, it's actually blunted on one side just a little bit, and I want the marks to be consistent. So know your tools so that you can have good, consistent work. It looks much better. It's okay to make a mistake as long as you make it look like it's supposed to be there. Nobody questions it. There we go. Okay, now for this next part, the camera's going to shake. You want to take the designs that you just carved up. I lay it down into my table, and you hit it with a ball peen hammer. And it rounds it out. Now usually it'll set my table on fire, and my kids love that, but I didn't do that this time, so that's too bad. Okay. So here, I'm going to set it against this side of the anvil and begin pinching it off like I was isolating the head earlier. I'm going to do some flat on the face after I get a good pinch in there, because I don't want the material to be cut off just yet. Real soon though. So now I'm off the edge of the anvil again, see I'm cutting it shorter. We're just about there. Okay. Now you don't want to kill your hammer on the edge there. So you get it real thin and then you just break it off. Okay, while that tip is real hot, grab it with these pliers and bend it right over. It's got to be really hot too, because it's a very small piece. And you don't want to break it. So we've got that one. Bend it the other way. And this one's long enough, I'm actually going to put a third bend in it, but I'm going to get some more heat. Okay, so here goes my other bend. And it's going the opposite direction. These all go in the opposite direction. I just think it looks better. It's up to you. You're the artist. So I think that looks real nice. I do want to pinch that in. Oops. Good grip. That was close. There we go. Excellent. A little bit more heat. Okay, so we got it hot. Just brushing off all that scale so it looks good. sure you get everything you can reach. It makes a big difference. Okay, now, this is beeswax. Beeswax will give you a real nice, I'm going to stay below this smoke here that's toxic, gives you a real nice antique look. So there's that. There's my, there we go. There we are. Now it tends to puddle a little bit. So what you do? There you go. There's your finished product. Okay. It's been about 2 minutes. This is still a little warm to the touch, but as you can see, I can touch it. So this is our finished product. If I can hold it still enough. See how the metal, especially around these loops, it's a real soft look to it. And if you look closely, those kind of dings and stuff right there that I didn't quite hammer out, that changes the look. But around these other areas, not across this spot, you see that, how there's angles in there? It's not the same. But look along the back side there. Real smooth, real nice, looks soft. If you can take metal and make it look soft, then it sells for more, people like it more. It's got a whole different look and a whole different appeal. Anyway, that's a leaf. Hope you enjoyed it. Make some of your own and upload some videos. Tell me how you liked it and make sure to subscribe.